Following on from the cultural phenomenon of the UK office, it only made sense for the writers and audience to want to do a US version of the show. But an American version of David Brent, what would that even look like? Enter Michael Scott, played by the incredibly talented Steve Carell. So, the team of writers had a very challenging job of translating the British sitcom to an American audience, which didn't really work at first. Although one or two of the first episodes of the first season are fairly strong and quite funny, one in particular being Diversity Day, which saw Michael play up to a racist stereotype and not understand what he did wrong, which in of itself fits the US office's kind of humour, but the cracks and issues started to show earlier on than that. The biggest being the pilot itself, which is almost a word-for-word reshoot of the original British counterpart, which just doesn't fit into the American demographic. For 6 solid episodes, we're introduced to a nastier Michael Scott, one very akin to the likes of David Brent, which worked phenomenally in the UK for 2 reasons. The first being it follows a dry and uneasy kind of deterioration, which most British sitcoms are famous for. David was never going to get the stereotypical American happy-go-lucky ending. And the second reason is that the series only ran for 14 episodes. They only had to keep this mean-spirited boss going for that period of time, whereas the US version was slated for many more seasons and episodes. Even the best writer in the world would struggle to keep a character like that going for a long period of time. It became rapidly clear to everyone involved that the show had to change and fast. Enter the Dundies. The Dundies is the first episode of the second season, and wow is it something. Following on from the mixed to lower rated opinions of the first season, the audience is fully thrust into a new show, with a new lead and a new hilarious tone that the show would follow going forward. Now, I don't mean that Michael Scott has been replaced or recast. What I mean is the show has completely changed him, both physically and mentally. In terms of hair and makeup, his collar is no longer restricting his neck, and his hair isn't balding. He generally seems warmer and more youthful than the harsher Michael that we experienced during Season 1. In terms of personality, aspects of him are the same, as he is still incredibly offensive to those around him, but his reasoning has changed. In terms of David Brent or Season 1 Michael Scott, their nature derives from a place of selfishness and narcissism, almost like a jerk showing off to the cameras, but this Michael really wants to be liked. He sees his co-workers as his best friends and needs to feel accepted by them. In a way, he's almost like an unknowing child. He could say or do something wrong, and it comes from a place of ignorance, not meanness. We see this Michael develop and grow for the rest of the show's run. For the moment, ignoring any particular change or plot thread, basically, the episode is Michael getting ready to host his annual Office Awards and puts on an over-the-top show at a local restaurant chain. None of the awards reflect the character's working abilities, but just contain characteristics or inside jokes that Michael perceives to be really, really funny. Often they're either personal, like Kevin's smelly bowel movements, or unintentionally dirty, like handing Phyllis the bushiest beaver award. As bland and to the point as this plot is, it feels like the perfect opportunity to show off this new Michael, to give him the stage and announce to the audience that he's changed, that he's the well-meaning man-child of the office, and that he's inevitably here to stay. It also lights up the office, gives it a warmer, new energy filled with incredible jokes and strong plot points. Like Jim sticking his neck out for Pam and telling Michael that the engagement joke isn't funny, while Pam's alcoholism in this episode is a result of her failing relationship with Roy, which gets explored further over the next 2 seasons. This episode is completely bonkers, stuffed with jokes, and it's just so over the top. It's the perfect tonal shift and drive for the show to go in. What other show has Steve Carell call a co-worker 15 years younger than him the hottest in the office and slap him on the arse?
The hottest? in the Office Award goes to Ryan the Temp! Yeah! Hi ho! You sexy thing, you. Here you go. Hanging in a hundred and a half. Come from, baby. There you go. There you go. Woo!
Not to mention the incredible renditions of famous songs performed by Michael Scott throughout this episode.
The Dundies! How can I explain it? I want you, I created. I'm happy that you all made it. You never have to work so hard and feel no notices. You're just a name and number and no one even says hello.
In my opinion, this was definitely the right thing for the show to do, and it only gets better from this episode. I would love to hear what all of you think.